Okay, good morning. We are going to do a chazara today, just some points on the first 5 sifim from Ritz Hashem. There's obviously a lot more to do, and I'll have to get feedback from everybody if we need more time and maybe another chazara shir before we do the bechina, or can we go ahead with it this coming week? So I need everybody's feedback on that point. So first we'll just go through some nekudas here, and then we will talk for a minute at the end about this. So in Sif Aleph, Vashta b'Shabbos, Shini Ches Sif Aleph, Vashta b'Shabbos, Osha'asa Achaz Mishar Malachos. The Rama adds in that the clothing we're going to see over here applies not just to Bishul, just we're talking about Bishul, but applies to, that's probably the most matzoi situation where you might have something going on Shabbos for various reasons, but it applies to any other malacha as well. Amazid, Asalo Olam, Olacherim, Mutter the Shabbos Miyad. So Mazid is pretty rare. We're going to have that situation of Mazid because people are not usually going to do it if they know that it's an Isser Shabbos, or they. So Shogeg is the more practical, more matzui situation. Shogeg Aser Babayoyim Gam Lacherim, but the Erev Mutter Gam Eloi Miyad. Shulchan Aruch Paskin is that if it's done with Shogeg, you cook on Shabbos, somebody cooks Shabbos Shogeg, they didn't know it's Aser. I thought it's mutter, so for a reason that happens often by Bala Tshuva. Unfortunately, it happens also by from people that might not know. Didn't really Hilchos Shabbos. The Pri Megadim writes in his Akdama to Hilchos Shabbos, Mr. Bur brings down Akdama that if somebody doesn't learn and Shanin really, really well at Hilchos Shabbos, that it's not came out not shy if there won't be Machal Shabbos, at least Rabbanan, if not Deraisa, came out every Shabbos. So that's why it's important to learn Hilchos Shabbos. So b'shogeg, aser babiyoyim, gam lachem. It's for everyone. But erev mutter gam loy miyad. It's mutter for himself afterwards. So remember, we have 3 shittas in the Tanoim. We have Rav Yehuda, Rav Meir, and Rav Yochanan and Sandler. So according to this sheet over here, the way the Shulchan Aruch is paskening is, if according to Rav Yehuda, the old Esam Askana, the Beis Yosef writes that we pass like Rav Yehuda, that if Bissel b'shogeg, Bissel Deraisa and Shogeg, it's aser loy v'lacherem on Shabbos, and it's mutter for everyone. Motzei Shabbos, we say miyad. We don't need b'chtei shiyasu. The amount of time it would have taken to do it, like we have other times, like bishul of a goy, or certain malachos of a goy, you have to wait until b'chtei shiyasu if it was done b'isr. The amount of time it would take to do it, in order to one or two reasons. Machlokas Rashi and Tosfos. If it's not to be nene from Malacha Shabbos, according to Rashi, it can't be nene if it was done in Shabbos. So you have to wait as long as it would take to do it, and then it's not considered nene from it anymore. And according to Tosfos, it's because if you can be nana right away, then you'll come to do it again, or ask a goy to do it again. So it's only a goy you might ask to do it again, but you're not going to ask a yid to do Machal Shabbos again. And who says the yid will listen to you if you did it? Shogeg, he's not going to do it again if you ask him. So there's no makom for Xera, according to Tosfos. According to Rashi, it's more problematic. Why is it mutter miyad? Maybe it's since lo matzu lo gazru. But that's a discussion in Rashi. Akapanim, that's the psak of the Shulchan Aruch, and Rav Yochanan and Sandler holds that it's usher for everyone forever, because Ma'aseh Shabbos is talking to Deraisa according to him, so it's usher to be named from forever. But the sheet of Rav Meir is that Shogeg is mutter lacher v'loi for him and for others, even on Shabbos itself. That's the sheet of Rav Meir, and because they didn't usher a melechas Yisrael that was done b'shogeg on Shabbos, because all the timing don't apply. We're not. They're probably be nana. It was done b'shogeg. It can't be nana from Minister Shabbos b'meizah, but not b'shogeg. That there's no Isra Hana on that, and also we're not choshesh you might come to ask them to do it again. So it's mutter lo miyad, and as we know, the Gra is marich to show like the it's also the sheet is a Rif Rambam Begonim. The Gra is the Rif Rambam and the Gonim were like the Shulchan Aruch Paskin. That's like the Shulchan Aruch, but the Gra is Moscow to Tosfos and others Paskin like a mayor, and therefore the Mishnah Berurah Paskin is Makam Tzarech. You can rely on the Gra, which has tremendous ramifications for especially someone involved in kiruv. That it's not a davar rachok at all. That happens, at least once, if not many more times in your kiruv career, that people will want to do you a favor and go and buy something on the way to your house when they're eating by you on Shabbos. They'll pick up a bottle of wine on the way in the store on Shabbos. And so the bottle of wine that he buys on Shabbos, so that's less of a problem, because that the Gra says that the Kuli Alma, even according to the Shulchan Aruch, by Malacha D'Rabbanan, there's some the shogeg that we can be makel. So since the buying the bottle of wine is only Malacha D'Rabbanan, Mekakal Memkar, and also nothing was done to the Gufa Davar, another reason I'm going to be makel. So that for sure we can be makel. But even if you're going to eat by somebody, you're somebody a new Baal Tshuva, didn't know better, came in the house, and he's proudly shows you how he put up the shult that morning and how it got done so fast on his amazing new cooker or whatever he has. So, and he had no idea that, he thought as long as you use the Shabbos cooker, you can cook it on Shabbos, whatever he thought. So it was done totally b'shogeg. You could actually be nene, you could eat that shult on Shabbos. It was cooked as b'shogeg. So it's tremendous ramifications, and many times it is makom and tzarech, because otherwise you're insulting people, etc. So you're allowed to be nene like the gra. That's one of the Adobe. I think you might have discussed it in your chat, whatever. But they brought up the shaila that why do you have to come onto this gra? Why don't we just say that use the klal of the Prima Gadim that comes up a number of times in the Mishnah Berurah throughout the whole of Shabbos, that whenever there's a suffix plukta, the Shulchan Aruch is machmer on Shabbos itself. So whenever there's a suffix plukta, there's a machlokas in psak. So after the fact, it's to be nene from it is only shalad or abanin, the way we pass him. Alak Riyach and Sadlers shalad or abanin. Whenever it's shalad or abanin, so we say that even though you might be machmer before the fact, but after the fact, if it was done, if you have who to rely on, so then you can be mikol. So why do we need the gra? Just let us know the fact that it's a machlokas for Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. So now it becomes a suffix, and let us just be mikol on our own, even without coming out to the gra. What does it matter if we pass like a Meir or not? The Meir says it's a machlokas, and after the fact, it should be mutter like a Meir. So I told them is that for us that's not called a suffix plukta. Machlokas tanoim for us not called suffix plukta. That's something that the Gemara machlokas tanoim, the Gemara still has to resolve it. We have to see how the Rishonim come out, and we have to know if within Rishonim already it remains a machlokas, it remains an unresolved question. So then that already, at the level of Rishonim, that's a different story. Then we call that a suffix plukta. But a machlokas for Meir or Yehuda, machlokas tanoim is never by us called suffix plukta. That's still in the middle of the sugya. That's not remaining with a suffix. So the klal of suffix plukta doesn't apply to machlokas tanoim like that. Okay, that's with regards to Sif Aleph. Sif Beis. Again, we're not talking to cover everything. We're just trying to touch on some main points over here. Sif Beis, a shochet b'Shabbos l'chola. You have a chola shesh b'sakana, and a Jew checks for him in Shabbos because he needs meat, because the doctor says it's important he eats meat today. Bein shechala me'esmol, bein shechala hayoim, whether you got sick yesterday or today, still mutar lebari l'echol menu chai b'Shabbos. On Shabbos, once you checked it for the chola, and now there's some raw meat, especially today that raw meat is in vogue, as long as you cut it thin enough or whatever, or even not. So everything raw today, that's in vogue. So excuse me, a bari is allowed to eat from on a Shabbos, even if it was chol hayom, even though it wasn't hukan mi'esmol, it's still okay for a bari. So the reason that the Shulchan Aruch has to point this out, we have two separate shilas going on here in this sif. One shilah is the shilah of the bishul itself and being nene from the bishul, from the malacha bishul. But the second shilah of muktzah on this meat, since it was not, if it would not be prepared yesterday, it's raw meat. I mean, it's an animal, it's a live animal right now, and it's chaser shchita, and it's not only the achila right now. So if it gets shechted on Shabbos, a bishlema, if there was chole esmol, so then you already have daitan alav mi esmol, so then you removed it from the category of muktzah by having daitan alav. But if you only was chala hayom, suddenly became maybe sick yesterday, or not so sick today, became very sick on Shabbos, and the doctor says you have to have meat now. So you take this animal and shecht it. So for sure, for the chola, just like it's okay to shecht it, you could also, we're not worried about muksa. But for anybody else, for the bari that wasn't sick, so maybe there's a problem with muksa. Kamash Malan, the Shulchan Aruch, we don't pass in that way. It's not an issue because we pass like Rishimon. It's Machos good every Rishimon. We pass like Rishimon. Then a muksa ella the grogas and smukim. Grogas and smukim. When you took the dried fruits, the fruits to dry on the roof, you pushed it up there, beheaded it. You took your das off of it, so it's called dacha b'yadayim. You're dochet b'yadayim. So we pass like Rishimon that there's no muksa ella b'dacha b'yadayim. Anything that's royal achila, if you weren't actually dacha b'yadayim, so then it is not muksa on Shabbos. So the animal, even though you didn't have kavanah to use it, but it's still not dacha b'yadayim. You weren't doka. You just didn't check them. You weren't doka either. Therefore, it's not chal muktzah on it, and it's mutter for Shabbos. So that's regards to the muktzah Shabbos. The etzem heter over here is heter for cholash yesh basakana, and the klal over here is that since yeshar lekazayis basar cholash shchita, this chola can't have kazayis basar without shchita, and so once you checked it for that one kazayis for the chola, then that's matter the ma'aser shchita legamrei, and therefore it's mutter for the others as well. And there's a third nekuda the Mishnah just points out once we were talking about it is what about the Isser Dam? You didn't do malicha over here. So how could the bar eat it without malicha? The answer is, since we're talking about chai over here, so it's only basar mavushal that is also without malicha. The basar chai is as long as you do adacha, you wash it off well. The dam that's al panav, the dam that's inside of it, since it wasn't only through cooking it, it's holach mimakom lamakom, and therefore it becomes dam asar. But dam that's been koima, that never was, it was artificially pushed mimakom lamakom within the basar, doesn't have a chloshim dam yet. It's still called a chelik of the basar. So that's why it's mutter for a bari. The Gemara actually says in Chulin that misha daita yafa alav used to have those kind of guys that are like a shmaka guys that are out there, working in the fields, and they're daita yafa alav. So when he should be there at the Beis Shchita when they shecht it, then he'll right away cut off a chunk of a kazayis basar and eat from the base of shchita, and that gives him his koach to keep going. So that's okay. But it's not a problem of malicha because it's high. Now the Ramah over here, there's all really side points to Bishul itself, but they're important nekudas that the Ramah says over here that afilu bishul ayde in Yehudi also b'Shabbos. So that going back a step, the Shulchan Aruch says that on b'bashal, which is a step back, if you did a bishul or any other malacha for a chola, so it's asur for they're talking about a yid doing it. Let's say a Jew cooks for another Jew. You don't have a goy around to do it, so you have the Jew cooking for another Jew on Shabbos, who's a cholash b'sakana. And also b'Shabbos l'bari or l'cholash ein b'sakana l'chashin and shema yarba b'shvilai. So the only heter we have over here is by shchita, because iyashar l'kazayis basar v'lo shchita. But masha'ekin, if you mavashal it, if you cook a kazayis basar for the chola, it's possible that if you cook that already, you might put another kazayis in. And even though it's the same ma'aser bishul, it's called ribu b'shiurim. You might be marba b'shiurim for the if we allow the bari to eat it when it's b'bushel. If I can eat, if let's say the chola, I cook him a few days and he needs a nice plate of meat and he eats half of it and I can't eat another bite. I'm full. I can't eat another bite. Okay, he goes back to sleep. And so can the bari eat the rest of the remaining meat on his plate? The answer is no, because if he's allowed to eat what's mavushal, then we're choshesh that whoever cooked for him will be marba b'shul, have a marba for other yidden. And that's the shayla to show him whether ribu b'shiyurim. If I'm already doing one ma'aser bishul, but I add more meat in the pot, and before I put it on the fire, I put this pot on the fire with 4 kazesim instead of 2 kazesim. I added more for other people. So am I over? Is that so? We know that's aser. It's a shayla to show him whether it's aser midrabanan or midaraisa. Mishnah Berurah is machriya. He says machriya in Sefer Abbas Chesed that it's an isser deraisa ribu shurim. A lot of cases of that in the Gemara. It's a case of if the chola needs a let's say he needs a few dates to eat. The doctor says he needs to eat dates, so he needs 3 dates to eat. So I can either pluck off a branch that has 3 dates, or once I'm plucking off a branch, I could pluck off one that has 6 dates. So that's Ruby Bashurim and Marba Bashurim of it being Kotzes and Elon on Shabbos. So that Mishnah passes, that's an Isser Deraisa. And therefore, that's why we're machma over here. The word gozer, Shema Yarba Bishkila. And that's one. But the Ramah though goes on to say that if a goy cooks for him, he says, so it was a Ramah. Where's the Ramah? New. Oh, yeah, okay. So yeah, so the Ramah says that this Isser that a Bari can't eat it because you might be marba v'shulo. The Ramah says afilu bishol ayidei enu Yehudi aser b'Shabbos. It was cooked by a goy. It's also for a Bari on Shabbos. Mashma from the Ramah that it's Motzei Shabbos, mutter for a Bari, mutter for anybody to eat. Maybe the Chol himself, or even the Bari Koshka and the Chol himself. The Shaila is why it was Bishal. Besides the fact that there's no muktzah, the heter, but it's Bishal Akum. So Bishlema, we understand in Shabbos that the Yid can eat it. If it can eat the cooked food on Shabbos, it can also. We're not worried about Bishal Akum. Motzei Shabbos that you could cook more already now. Anybody could cook more for him. So if it was cooked by a goy on Shabbos, what about Bishal Akum? So why is the Ramah Matir on Motzei Shabbos? What about Bishal Akum? So Mishnah Berurah brings down, but it's a famous machlokas, the Ra'ah and the Rashba and Bedek Abais, and according to the Ra'ah holds that Bishal Akum, if there was a heter to cook it on Shabbos by a goy because it was a Chol Shef Sakana, on that there is no Isser of Bishal Akum. Chazal word goes of Bishal Akum when the goy has a total heter to do it for the sake of saving a Jew. There's no Xeris Bishal Akum. The Rashba is Cholik. The Rashba holds that it's only a heter. It's like Dachui right now. There isn't a Bishal Akum, just you have no choice. So you eat it on Shabbos. But most of Shabbos, as soon as more Yidden could cook for them, then the Isser Bishal Akum comes back. And it's also for everybody on Motzei Shabbos because it's a Bishal Akum. So that's major machlokas the Rashba and the Ra'ah, and we see from here that the Ramah here and also in Yeridea, the Ramah paskin is like the Ra'ah, the Kula. It's a Shalad Rabbanan. Ramah's paskin in the Kula that there is no Isher Bishal Akum by something that was cooked beheter by a goy on Shabbos for the sake of sakana. And that's the halach on the Maisa. That's how we paskin. That's why it's mutter for a bari on Motzei Shabbos. Okay, one last nakuda here. Okay, yeah, I guess that's it right now. Okay, we'll go on to Sif Gimel. Sif Gimel, the Shulchan Aruch says, "Kashem she'asur levashel ba'ur, kas asur levashel b'tardus or." You can't cook not only on the fire, but something that came off the fire. There's no fire b'poil right now, but it's hot because of the fire. So then that's also mavashel. You go and litin beitz of itzad kedera or the shabra al sudar shehucham or kedera shetitzla. You take an egg, put it next to a pot that just came off the fire, or to break it on a sudar. You have a hot piece of cloth that stays very, very hot. It was on the fire, it was heated on the blech, whatever, and now it's just take it off, and it's very hot still, and it's hot enough to cook an egg. You cook an egg on there on this piece of cloth, then it's still an Isser Bishul, and the Mishnah Berurah says, it's Bishul Deraisa. So Toldos or is like fire. So even though the Torah's makbid and fire being the source of the heat, as long as it's the source of the heat, even though it's a step removed right now, it's still hot from the fire, then it still has a koach bishul. That's why we're machmir by kli rishon shalal gavi eish, that we can't put something in it because the kli rishon is still hot from the fire. It's bishul deraisa. Then we go on to say over here in Shulchan Aruch that it's mutter to cook b'chama. I can cook something in the direct sunlight. Sunlight is not fire. It's not fire, and the Torah didn't ask for that. So I can cook directly. I can take a cup of water and put it in the sunlight. And if I want to, it's very hot in a hot Texas summer. I want some hot water for coffee. My urn went out, whatever, so I can heat it up in the sun just as well as the urn in Texas. and put my coffee in there. It'll be good hot coffee. That's perfectly fine if it's directly in the sunlight. However, if I heat something up beforehand by the sunlight, and now I want to heat something up in it, I take a pot and heat up that pot in the sun, and then put something in it afterwards. That's called toldos chama. And since I can't differentiate between the pot that was heated up by the sun or a pot that was heated up by the fire, so it's usher midrabanan to cook something in a pot that was heated by the sun, not directly in the sun, but heated by the sun. Now I cook on that pot because it's a gzera atu told us haor. That's the klal over here we're seeing. So now we spoke out then back then we learned some kibbutz, just to remind ourselves. We spoke out then a yisodistic machlokas between Moshe and Rishon Zalman, how to understand this din of Toldos Chama, of Bishul B'chama. Why is Bishul B'chama okay? The lesson of Rashi in Shabbos is that because it's ain't derek Bishul B'kach. Cooking in the sun is ain't derek Bishul B'kach. So the Shabbos, what does that mean? Does that mean, like, often we use this lashon ain't derek Bishul B'kach or ain't derek some malacha, that it's called a shinui. So it knocks it down from a d'oraisa to a d'rabbanan, or sometimes it's even mutter. But it's not the derech malacha to do it that way. So the shal would be then, if you would take the same thing, it would become the derech. Let's say you would have everyone in this country now starts cooking by the sun. There's an oil embargo or whatever, and there's an electricity embargo. So all that's left is the sun. So now everyone cooks by the sun. So that's what everyone does here now. Does that become derech bishul b'kach? Now it's also d'oraisa because it's not a shinui anymore. That's the normal derech, or it's still a mutter because be'etzem, what it means in derech bishul b'kach means be'etzem, cooking by the way it was in the Mishkan. They cooked in the Mishkan through fire. So in derech bishul b'kach means it's completely mufka from the derech malacha. It's not that malacha at all when it's not on regular fire. Even though the sun itself is a type of fire, but it's not the fire that was in the Mishkan. It's not the way that we cook the Mishkan. Therefore, it's mufka legamre from that. So just like it's not so matzu. The nafkamina will be everyone's cooking by the sun, but what is matzu is a microwave. So a microwave is a derech bishul, but it's not with fire. So if the issue is ein derech bishul b'kach, means it's a shinui. Microwave is not a shinui. It's just that's a normal way. It's just not fire, but it's not a shinui anymore. So it's lo gara microwave then sun if it would have been the derech. So there's no shinui anymore. It'd be nisa d'oraisa. But if you hold that is mufka legamre from bishul, if it's not with fire, then it's not bishul at all. It's something else. It might have the outcome of bishul, but it's not a ma'aseh bishul. So then a microwave would be essentially mutar on Shabbos. It would be like putting it right in the sunlight. So he spoke out this precise shaila is machlokas for Moshe and Rishon Zalman. For Moshe holds that Pshat and Rashi is that it's just not the derech, it's like a shinui. But a microwave is not a shinui, and therefore it's an issa d'oraisa. And Rishon Zalman holds that what Rashi means bishul kach means it's not the derech, this malacha at all, to cook without fire, because that's not the way it was in the Mishkan. That's not so be'etzem, it's mufka from that, and therefore a microwave is not bishul and Shabbos. Nafkamina would be, if you need to cook something for a chayla, is there a reason to prefer cooking it with a microwave over cooking it on the fire? According to Moshe, no nafkamina. According to Rishon Zalman, it's much better to cook for a microwave because you're getting the same effect, but you're minimizing the malacha because you're not doing a real malacha on Shabbos if you have it cooked by the microwave. Taking away the other problems of turning on the light by opening the door and closing the door and all that stuff, have someone else do that. But for you to actually someone institute that, it's better to cook with a microwave. Same thing in Israel, they have a thing called a kaf chashmal, that they put this metal thing in a cup of water to heat up the water for tea. So this kaf chashmal, they put it in. There's no fire, but it just you plug it in. It sends electrodes through electricity through the water, and it just completes the circuit between the two things. And the electricity is what causes the water through the electrons to heat up the water without actually heat of fire there. So that, according to Moshe, that would be a problem because that's a derech b'kach. According to Rishon Zalman, it's not fire. Yashiv is machmir by that, but Shlomo Zalman holds it's the same as the microwave. It's not derech bishul chatz. There's no fire there. And the famous machlokas was we spoke about also. I'm not going to go into the whole thing right now, but the dud shemesh, the water that's heated up in the tank on the roof from the in Israel, very common dud shemesh to have the what are they called in English, the panels, sun panels, solar panels. They heat up this unit which heats up the water. So Shlomo Zalman held that it's considered bishul b'chama because it's not. I mean, they have different types of them actually, but in his day, the earlier ones, so it wasn't that they heated up a metal unit to heat up the water, but it just focused. The old ones, they would focus the rays of the sun into the water in a very focused way, like a laser focus. It would heat up the water through the sun. So since you're not having a side unit heating up first, there's no total chama over there. It's considered directly bishul b'chama. If you would take the bishul b'chama is mutter. If you take a magnifying glass, you can start a fire like that with the sunlight. If you do that on, let's say, on a cup of water with a magnifying glass on Shabbos, that would be okay, because it's not total chama. It's direct bishul b'chama. Just you're amplifying or focusing the rays of the sun onto the water, so it's not an issue. So Rosh Zalman held who same thing over there, and Rabbi Yashiv, many other poskim were cholek and held that is an issue, that it's still, since the way the process worked was not considered directly in the sun, it's considered a total chama.
The fact that the pipes that the water's in are not clear, they're not they're black pipes. Is that still considered directly being heated in the Hama?
Well, if the way it works is by heating up the pipes and then the water, then that would be.
The water's
I mean,
inside the pipes. You have a panel and there's water, there's pipes with water in the panel and they're being heated directly by the sun, but it's not that you have an open cup of water. It's a closed cup.
yeah. So that was something with maskim. Like the way they're made later would be different. And even in those days, when it was directly, he held it was directly in the chama, when it was focused onto the water itself. He was machmir because since every one of those units was set up in a way that it also had an electric option if there's a few cloudy days or you wanted to hit it at night or whatever, so you could, instead of using the sun, you could flip a switch and turn the electricity on. So he held that the ikar gzera asur lachlufe betodos or is shaykh by the very unit itself, because you can't tell the difference anymore within that unit whether the water is heated by electricity or by water, and therefore he was machmer. So those are a few nafkaminas the Maisa today of Todos Chama would be the direct nafkamina of Chama would have been the Dud Shemesh, but the implication of it, whether something which is not fire but it's a derech bishul, which would be that's telling the machlokas Moshe and Shlomo Zalman and Pshat and Rashi. So the nafkamina of that would be a microwave or a kaf hashmal and other such contraptions that work in the same way. Okay. I mean, we also had a different mahalik in it. He held that the reason it's the kaf hashmal, for example, he held as a problem. He had a chiddush, which Shlomo Zalman didn't hold of, that since even though the electricity itself is not fire, because there's no heat in the electricity, but since the electricity was created through fire, that through the processing plant, the way they create the electricity was through heat. They have to there's fire that fires the whole process, and then that creates the electricity, which gets to the pipe, to the wires, and gets to you. So then it's like he held that it contained within it the koach of Eish because of that. Therefore, it's considered still bishul Eish. So that's an extrapolation. It's a bit kiddush. That's what he held.
Okay. In regards to the pipes, really, if it's just for a practical reason, where the water is in the pipes, just practically because you need water to be in the pipes, but the heat would heat up the water anyways if it was just the water in there. So would that be like, you could be makel because you don't want the pipes to get hot. It doesn't matter. It's just practically you want the water in the pipes. So if the pipes weren't there, water would get just.
It doesn't matter what you want. The fact is that it's heated up by Toldus Chama. It's still not considered the Chama directly, because I'll only make up by directly. The minute it gets something else, it doesn't matter what you want or not. But it goes back to the Xerib Asil Chalufe, but Toldus Or. Those pipes, the same pipes, could have been heated up by fire-fed heat. So Chazal will only make by direct sun, not by anything. When there's an intermediary, then Chazal goes there. Go on to Sif Daled. Tafshil in his bashal called Sarkoi. Yesh b'mishum bishul in nistanim. So tafshil over here means, let's say, a cholent that has, potatoes and meat and everything, but it also has the liquid in there. What's called the tafshil. So if it cools down, then there's an iser bishul. Yesh b'mishum bishul. And when he says yesh b'mishum bishul, he means that there's bishul deraisa. If it cools down and you reheat it, then it's a bishul midaraisa, because we say that by liquids we consider it to be biosolids that cool down. So the bishul is still nicker in it. The ikra bishul is still there. Like a cold piece of chicken, a cooked chicken, is enodoma cloud to a raw piece of chicken. Mashen came by liquids, starting with water. So water is hot water, and it was cooled down, is no longer hot water, and it's not nicker in it that it was still hot, according to the Shulchan Aruch, and the many Rishonim hold that yesh bishul achar bishul balach. So that's the sheet of the Machaber. The Ramah adds in the Yeshomrim within the Das Machaber, that even that shita is only if it's mistamak v'yafalo. If by heating it more, and if it shrinks, then it's better for it. Only then is there iso bishul by instana. But if it's mistamak oralo, then not. Which would mean, according to the Ramah, he's saying that the Ramah would be, if it's just water, let's say a cholent can be mistamak v'yafalo sometimes. But water, it's never mistamak v'yafalo, because you always want more water, not less water. So the way Ramah is learning Pshat and Shulchan Aruch, and this Yeshomrim, this Reni Rucham, is that it would not apply to water. The Ikr Bishul would not apply to water, only to those things which would be good for it to get more Mevushal. And then the second Kiddush of this Machaber is it's not this Bashal. Now, this Shalom, just to point out, it's a huge Machlokes Rishonim. And this is the Shittas of Rambam and other Rishonim that Shulchan Aruch's Paskin like. The Rush, which is actually Shittas Rashi, going in Rashi, that Laksh and Istan has an Isser Bishul, but there's Rashba and the Ran and many other Rishonim hold not that way. So the Shulchan Aruch was passing in the Chumrah, yes, Rishon Bishul. The Nafkamina in this, according to Shulchan Aruch, that even though the Shulchan Aruch passes like a Rehuda, that if you cook b'shogeg, it's Asar on Shabbos, but the Shulchan Aruch would agree, based on the Klal of Prima Godim, that if you heated up Laksh and Istan on Shabbos, in a way that Shulchan Aruch held as an Isser Bishul, b'diavad it would still be mutter to drink it, the water, let's say, because since Safek Flukta, it's Machlokes Rishonim, then b'diavad it should be mutter. Because many Rishonim hold there is no Isser Bishul, achar bishul, even by water. And that would be even if it's the Stamach Yafalo, like the Ramah says. That's one Chiddush in the Mechaber. The other Chiddush is, if it's not in this Bashal called Sarkoi, I feel in this Bashal Kamacha Ben Rasoi, Shaykh Bishul, a feel Ba'oda Rasayach, that's also Shittas Rush and Rambam and others that even after Michael Ben Rasoi, there still is an Isser Bishul, the right, which Mishnah points out it's still a Pella, why he just left it that way, because many Rishonim hold not that way. The Ramban, the Rashba, the Rush, the Ran, Miri, they all paskin that once it gets to Michael Ben Rasoi, there's no longer an Isser Bishul. Those Rishonim all hold the sugya of Shia and Chazara. Chazara is talking about, we're talking within the realm of Michael Ben Rasoi, so the whole sugya of Shia and Chazara is talking about what the din is after Michael Ben Rasoi. And if they're Mater Chazara, if we have all the Tanayim, Chazara must be even after Michael Ben Rasoi. That means that there's no Isser Bishul anymore after Michael Ben Rasoi. So the Bir Lacha goes through, and because the Pella Hakan the Shulchan Aruch was just sosim that way without bringing any other shita, but at the end it comes out that many Rishonim hold, like the Shitas of Tosos that there is bishul, and therefore the Shulchan Aruch passes that way. He's mashma that way, but he's masking though that if it was done after Makan Dersoy, if you did, let's say you took it off the fire after Makan Dersoy, and you wanted to serve some of it, and then you put it back in the fire because you thought it's okay. So, or even, I mean, the mice, even if you did it with maize, I guess it should be okay, but it's not so matzoi. But b'shogeg, you put it back on, you thought it's okay. Even according to the Mechaber, it's all right to eat it because it's going to be, it's b'diavad and it's a suffix plukta, so the Mechaber will be maskim that you can eat it after effect because many Rishonim hold it as mutter. But the mice, for sure, we're very machmir not to do that. We have to make sure that it's what's called sorko. The killik will be, let's say, a cholent Friday night. You put it on Friday afternoon. By Friday night, it's fully cooked. It's fully edible. It will be a fully edible stew. It just doesn't have the cholent taste yet. That's going to only happen overnight. The geshmak cholent taste. But since it's fully edible right now, so there's no problem with putting it back on the fire whatsoever. Because that's not called Michael Mendersoy, that's called Muvushkol Sarkoi. It just now it's in the category of Muvushkol Sarkoi, and Mistamak V'Yafalo. Now it's just getting better and better and better as time goes on. So Mistamak V'Yafalo, everyone agrees there's no Isser Bishul once it's Muvushkol Sarko. The only shala is after Michael Mendersoy that we're machmir for, but b'diavad it will be mutter. Okay, so now getting back to the Ikra Shittas Machaber over here, that once it cools down, then it's usher. So that we spoke out, we saw in the Sif Tes Vav, that this is a major machlokas between the Machaber and the Ramah of what's called cool down. What does it mean to be cooled down? According to the Shulchan Aruch, cool down means anything less than the Yatzel Lettuce. And there is a dea, according to Shulchan Aruch, which some of the Sephardi poskim are machmir like, that the Machaber goes with the Rebbeinu Yonah. It means if it was cooled down less than, it still has a koach habishol within it, which is still quite a bit more than Yatzel Lettuce. Halach l'mais in Ikra Din, it's Shulchan Aruch's makbid on Yatzel Lettuce that has to at least be Yatzel Lettuce in order to recook it and not be a problem of bishol. But according to the Ramah and Sif Tes Vav, the Ramah says over there that it doesn't need to be Yatzel Lettuce as long as it's still nicker in it. The koach habishol is still warm enough that when you eat it, you're tasting a warm food. So we say that it retains the bishul as long as it's still warm. If it's considered that it retains the bishul in it, then it's not a problem of putting it back on the fire and even bringing it back to a boil. That's Shittas Ramah. So we spoke out at the time. Major machlokas in the poskim. What is pshat in the Ramah? What's the nekudas of machlokas between the Machaber and the Ramah? Are they cholik in derabbanan or deraisas? Meaning, the Shulchan Aruch says that if it cools down, it's an Isser Bishul deraisa. And that's why it's makbid that it is still Yatzel Lettuce, because the Shulchan Aruch holds that it's still Yatzel Lettuce as long as if it's less than Yatzel Lettuce, it's no longer nicker in it that it was Muvushal before by a davar lach. So if the Ramah agrees to the Shulchan Aruch that there's an Isser Bishul, if it's the stanin, then the Ramah is saying a tremendous kula to say that it's enough, even if it's not Yatzel Lettuce, it's still, as long as it's warm, it still retains the koach habishol. Then the Ramah is saying a big kula in the shita that holds that there is an Isser Bishul deraisa by lakshin istanin. That's one shot in the Ramah. The Ramah is saying a kula. The other shot in the Ramah would be, and that's actually the shita's Magen Avram. Magen Avram says in the Ramah that the Ramah is masking to the Shulchan Aruch that if it would be cooled down the gamrei, there would be an Isser deraisa to heat it back up again. That's the Magen Avram. However, there's another way to learn the Ramah, which is the Chazon Ish, and also Rav Moshe says this in Tshuva, and Rav Shlomo Zalman writes this. It took on this way also, and it's mashma that way from the Mishnah Berurah and Sif Tes Vav, is that the Ramah is actually Ikra Din is paskening like the Rishonim that ain't Bishalach or Bishal Balach, like the many Rishonim that the Mishnah Berurah brings down, that there is no Bishal Bishal. That's really the Ikra Psak of the Ramah. It's just that's Ikra Din. But since you might come to cook something which is not cooked at all, or perhaps maybe to be machma like the other shitas, So the Ramah, just to be machmir, shouldn't make a mistake. Think that you can washel something that's lach, that's legam, we never cooked before. So he's machmir that it retains some zecher of the original bishul in it by being warm. As long as it retains a zecher of the original bishul, it's still warm. Then we're not gozer, we're not kosher. So you're going to come to cook something that was never cooked at all. So that's how most folks can take on a libid or Ramah. And this explains another thing. Another point is that the Shulchan Aruch goes on here to say that the Isser Bishul, Hani Mili Dever Bishul Bishul, Akar Bishul, but Tavshil Sheyesh Ba Marak. If it has liquid in it, Avadavar Sheyesh Bashal Kvar Yavesh, if it's dry, it's okay to put it in hot water on Shabbos, even in the Kli Rishon. So Mr. Brewer said in Sivkot and Lamed Beis, it's dry, that means Sheheriku Hamarakenu, means you poured out all the liquid from it. Hariku means you emptied out completely. So the post can bring down, there's a Pri Megadim that mentions a Minchas Kohen that holds that as long as it's a Rov Davar Yavesh, it's only a Miut Lach, then it's also okay. You're allowed to put it if it was cooled down completely, but it was Miut Lach and Rov Yavesh, it would go after the Rov, and it's okay. Pri Megadim brings it down. Other posts can also quote this. And so Ramosha asks in a tshuva, of course, the Davar Pella. First of all, the Mishnah Berurah seems to be coming about Fuke that he didn't say Sherika Rov Hamarak Menu. He says Harika Hamarak. All of it has to be emptied out. So Mishnah Berurah's paskening has to be totally dry in order to be okay to put it back on. You can't have a little bit of liquid still in there. It has to be totally dry. But how can we possibly understand Pshat in the Minchas Kohen? What does it even mean? How could you say such a thing? What about the bishul of that little bit of liquid that's still there? Other things by Yisurim, you can go by Rov and Mute. But over here, the fact that you have a little bit of water, that's enough to vassal that water. How can the Minchas Kohen say such a thing? So Moshe explains, it must be that the Minchas Kohen really paskins Mikra Din, like the Ramah seems to paskin, at least in that Mahalach of the Ramah, Mikra Din, there is no bishulach or bishul, even balach, even by water, which the Chazon Ish says. The others say that by water, it must be some teva of water changes after you vashal the first time, that it's not the same second time around. Even water, its teva changes after bishul. So the Ikra Din, the Minchas Kohen is paskening like this Ramah, that really is bishul bishul. There's no bishul bishul balach, but we're machmir to say, like the Ramah itself is machmir, that it's warm. It has to at least be warm in order to not come to a gzera, not to come to cook something that was never cooked, etc. So since it's only the Ramah that's saying it has to be warm is only a chumrah in the shita that holds in bishulach and bishulach. So Minchas Kohen is being mekadesh that the chumrah will only be if it's ruboy lach, but if it's ruboy yavesh, so people look at it as not as a liquid mixture, but look at it, this is a solid food. It has a little liquid in it, but people look at it like a solid food, then they're not going to come in and make a mistake to think they can heat up a davar lach that was never in his bashal. Because they don't look at this whole mixture as a davar lach, they look at it as a davar yavesh. That's how Rov helps. How do we look at this mixture? And therefore the gzeira won't apply by it, since the ikar din, there is no bishul or bishul balach. That's the pshat in that's going. So therefore says Ramosha that even though we paskin not like that, we paskin that we do have to have it warm, and we're machmir that yesh bishul or bishul balach like the Shulchan Aruch, but he says so. Therefore, we can't just go with the Minchas Kohen. We can't just in any case rely on this Minchas Kohen. But he says makom shasat hatchak gadol yesh almi lisma. We have if a great shasat chak, we can rely on this Minchas Kohen. Heat up a davar lach. If it's miut lach, you poured it out. But there's only a little bit of lach left. There is what to rely upon. So I think Ramosha can only say that because Ramosha himself learned Pshat in the Ramah. We mentioned before, learned Pshat in the Ramah. The Ramah is being cholik on the Shulchan Aruch and holds the ein b'shalach b'shalach. That's Ramosha himself. He's masking to the Minchas Kohen. That's the ikar din, the ikar mahalach of the Ramah. And therefore, he says Shas Atcha Gadol. You can rely on that. So here's enough kamina in the Maisa. If you're doing a Shabbaton and you realize that they forgot to put the cholent on the fire. So So now you're not going to have the main course for the whole Shabbaton. You don't have the whole main Sholta is the main course to serve, and that was the whole point of the Shabbaton, is to teach them what Sholta's all about. Like we're trying to bring them to the Madriga of Sholta. The have the Geshmak of Shabbos. So you lost the whole thing. And now it's Shas Gadol. So according to Moshe, Yesh Almi Lismok, to put it on top of it. Now you're taking it out of the fridge. You got to put it on an upside down pot, or it was already on the fire and it was taken off the fire and cooled down. Now it's too late, it's not warm anymore. So you can put it back on the fire, in a way, or stomach to the fire, on the fire, on an upside down pot. Ideally through a goy, because then you take yourself out of any kshash. But even not with a goy, he's very much saying that if you have it's ruboy yavesh, like a chont is mostly barley and potatoes and meat and stuff like that, and you have a little bit of liquid in it still, then Shatz Chagadol, you have all the lismok to put it back on. Now, I just want to point out that this would only be true for Ashkenazim, not for Sephardim. I think that's because, according to the Shulchan Aruch, it's not a chumrah of bishul or bishul, it's mikra din. So, if you're a Sephardi guy running the Shabbaton, you have to make your Ashkenazi partner, the Shabbos goy, to be the one that puts the sholem back on the fire, because he'll be allowed to samach on the Ramah to put it on, and then the Sephardim could eat it, because it's a safek plukta after the fact that it's okay for them to eat also. Ask him to the Heshman.
All right, there's so Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef, he actually takes the Mincha Kohen in a different way. He says Rubo Yavish is because you can be metamtem. So even if you have, let's say, just meatballs, right? And then there's a little bit of rotiv, or even if you have dry meatballs, but you squeeze them, there's rotiv that's going to come out. And so it can be metamtem, like everything has some darga of rotiv, right? So he actually learns the pshat in the Shulchan Aruch is, why does it say marak? He should say rotiv. So he says marak to say this is like shem marak, like it's something that's liquid. And it's actually a lot more meko. He says as long as it's rubo yavish, like the Minchat Kohen, like the pshat, then it will be okay. So it's really
he's saying different pshat in Minchat Kohen. I mean, there are other poskim as well, Ashkenazi poskim, that say that all this applies. This is all true when the lach is a davar b'fnei atzmo, is a hefta b'fnei atzmo. When it's just a little bit of liquid on, like say, in the meatballs or on the meatballs, where you have a little gravy on it. So then that's not called davar lach anymore. That's batal to the meat. And we find that even by malachas gemuras, that when something is batal to something, then it's okay. For example, take skita, to squeeze a lemon on Shabbos. So I can't squeeze the lemon out into a cup of water or into a cup, because then it goes from a solid to a liquid. So it's that's an isser skita. And if it would be grapes or zayzim banavim, it would be an isser deraisa. But however, to squeeze it onto a piece of fish, so then that's okay, because the liquid comes bottled to the fish. It was never took a shame liquid. It is always part of it's considered. It goes from yavish to yavish, even though there's right now there's lemon on the fish. You could feel that lemon juice, but it's not called lemon juice. It's called tufel to the fish. So yeah. Everyone agrees to that point, that he's saying that if it's, when we talk about you pour all the marak out of it, when you pour the marak out of it, it's still wet, right? You pour all the marak out, but like you say, the marak is a davar b'fnei atzmo. The marak is not rotiv. It's something which is not batal to the meat. It's not batal to the rest of it. It's a davar b'fnei atzmo. So the way Ramosh was learning it. So then the chiddush of the minchas of Kohen is much. What you're saying, Yosef, everyone agrees to that. That if it's just on it and wet, whatever, that's still okay. That's not called davar lach. It has to be a hefta b'fnei atzmo. But the Ramosha's chiddush is with the marak is still there. It's rov, means a mute, even though it's nicker b'fnei atzmo. But since rubo is yavesh and it's and everyone looks at it as looks at the cholent as a cholent. They don't look at it as soup. They look at it, but you could pour some out, and sometimes you have a very, very, sometimes you miscalculated. You didn't put enough stuff in the cholent, and it's more like a soup, like a cholent soup than it is a cholent. That happens sometimes. It happens to us. So and you eat it with a bowl instead of with a nafkamina. You can tell what it is. You put it on a bowl or put it on a plate. You need a bowl for it, or you can even put it on a plate. So the chiddush is that if it's the Ramosh is saying that the Minchas Kohen is telling even a bigger chiddush that even though it is nikar in a way, but it's ruboy, it's still okay. Okay, well, almost out of time. Just want to speak out one point with the Sefer Yereim and Sifhei. That just one last point, a couple last points. We spoke out from Shlomo Zalman that Mikra Din, by talking about this lach over here, lach has to be also another situation where it has to be a davar chashav b'fnei atzmo. As Shlomo Zalman told me that in his day there was a deal in the poskim if there's any reason at all lahachmir to dry out the cup from the last drops of tea from the last time that's cold now before you pour hot water in again to make the next cup of tea or coffee, whatever, in the cup. And he held for sure Ikra Din, that's not a problem because those last two drops in there are mabakach and it's in Ritsanabakach, and and it was also mushal once. So there's but siruf of fusforus, there's no reason. He held there was no chiyuv to take out to dry out the cup. It's just the last, yeah. And that being said, I just want to say that we medayek from the Mishnah Berurah. The Mishnah Berurah at the end of the sif had a long, huge arichos try to find an eitzah for making tea on Shabbos, and all kinds of essence this way, essence that way, no essence, whatever, a whole bunch of dayas and possibilities. But the Mishnah Berurah didn't say the most pashta possibility was just put it in the kli shlishi. So we of course see clear from the Mishnah Berurah he didn't bring that eitzah that he would hold that it's a problem even in the kli shlishi, which the reason that would be, even though generally the Mishnah Berurah says, like in the next sif, the Mishnah Berurah is going to have an eitzah for putting pas in the soup. That if you're worried about bishul achar afiyah, according to the Yereim, that yes, bishul achar afiyah, so therefore you shouldn't put bread into a kli rishon or even to a kli sheni if it's really hot, because maybe bread is davar rach, it's a soft thing. If you put kli sheni, you could put it in. But by tea, he never said that eitzah. So it seems to me that Mishnah Berurah held that tea is a davar rach in kali lavashel, that it'll be muvushal if the water is hot, even with kli shlishi. And that's how Rav Poskim take on, and that's not like Ramosh. Ramosh the Hedya holds that there is no bishul at all with kli shlishi, no matter what. Even by yad nichbeis bo, that Mishnah Berurah brings down from the Chayadim that yad nichbeis bo, if your hand is so hot that your hand gets burnt in it, even in a kli sheni it's aser. And then Poskim discussed the Mishnah Berurah what would he hold in kli shlishi. Some say Mishnah Berurah is masking with kli shlishi. Rav Yosha took on that way, and the Chazon Ish as well. Chazon Ish is machmer even kli shlishi yad nichbeis bo. But Ramosha takes on that in kli shlishi even yad nichbeis is mutter. It lost its koach bishul once it gets to a kli shlishi, the kuli Allah. That's why he was mekel by tea. But the others are machmir that they might be masking to Ramosha in general by kli shlishi, but tea, which is so easily cooked, and it turns into tea, even as long as the water is hot, it turns right into tea. So Moshe didn't care. He said it would, even in cold water, it'll turn into tea. The fact that it colors the water and gives it a taste would be even in cold water, and therefore it's not a raya. But other poskim hold it is a raya, and that's why Rav Poskim are kolakar Moshe and are machmir not to put tea even in a kli shlishi on Shabbos. So they would have to go back to the eitzes that want tea, go back to the eitzes of the Mishnah Berurah to prepare the tea beforehand, to prepare tea essence, not to use a tea bag on Shabbos. That's what Rav Poskim are against Rav Moshe on that. Yes.
I just want to go back to the point that Rebbe was saying about the cooked, again, meaning I made tea in a cup and now there's leftover tea drops in the cup. So Rebbe was saying from Shlomo Zalman that there was a few different svaras to say why that's not an issue to use that cup again, let's say I guess is the cliche.
No, he said they're saying that they're not talking about a cliche. They're talking about even pouring right from the urn onto it, right from the urn.
And
So
could Rabbi just speak out?
can I pour it? I have an urn on the fire. I have a little tea kettle on the fire. You know, the hot water kettle. Can I pour it right back into the cup?
Right.
Which
And
is
what would
Eri Miklirishan, it's actually must to do even worse than that, and that's with a ladle with soup. If you don't keep your ladle in the soup, so you have a thing on the side, you put it on, the soup in there gets totally cold, and then you stick it right into Klirishan. It's even worse than Eri Miklirishan, but it's the same thing. It's Lachshani special, a little bit of drops.
Right, right. You keep on, right. So all those things were he held that it was a psik ratio to lo Nikolay, and and even like less than that, it's like davar shel mabakach, that you don't care about that at all. So he had this klolim, like it's mufka legamre from the surah Samalacha. It was something that you totally don't care about, and it's even like less than psik ratio to lo Nikolay. It's almost like garnish from garnish. Pardon?
Is that like misasik?
Misasik, you're doing it. Misasik would be like you plan to do something else happened. It's a little, even, I don't know if it's quite misasik, but klape, the surahs of malacha, it was like mufka from the surahs of malacha. Yeah. So yeah. I thought we'd get into Sif Hayten. It's a little bit too late. So I guess everybody can send me feedback of do we need any more time to Chazara, before I put out Bechina. I could do one more Chazara share maybe the beginning of the week or something like that, and then do it after that if anyone needs more time, or I'd like to move ahead because I want to start the next subject. But if we need more time, then make sure we know it right. Then please private message me what you think, and we'll consider what to do.
Okay, I'll private message Rabbi also, but I wouldn't mind having a little extra time in addition to earlier in the week having Rabbi also about again if you washed out a cup, meaning you washed out a cup in the sink and now there's leftover droplets. We said a few different ways to go about that. What do Rav Shlomo Zalman say? I mean, what do Rav Shlomo Zalman say about that? Obviously,
that's different. That's what you washed it out is different
because it's not cooked.
It's not cooked, right? So Rav Shlomo Zalman was there. The poskim that were mikol here, they're mitzaref. Like the Sir Parishon is the many poskim that are the whole Ein B'Shalach B'Shalach, and then the Ramah says, and also the Ramah that holds that even if Yesh B'Shalach B'Shalach, it's only when it's Mistamach V'Yapolam.
Right.
So whatever, but Iker we're mitzaref over here in B'Shalach B'Shalach, and then for Machmer this way, but here there's no reason to be Machmer on top of that because it's not Tzuras Malacha, etc. No Kavana and Sikrishal Nikolay and Tzuras Malacha, all these words go into it.
So with water that needs bashil, you need it to be perfectly dry. It can't have any droplet.
If you cooked it,
no, if it's water from the sink.
You washed it. Yeah, if you washed it, it needs to be. You need to dry it first. I mean, perfectly. You have to look at it with a microscope, but but you need to dry it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not enough to shake it. Let's say you don't have a towel. Can you shake it several times, just so that you're showing I don't want this, and there's no Zdei of the Alma left inside. Gilui Das.
If you want to be one of the movers and shakers, maybe. So, yeah, you dry it. Who doesn't have a towel to dry it? But take a tissue. Yeah.
Worried about sechets.
No. Okay.
So Rebbe thinks we'll probably start something new meaning, I guess, a week and a bit.
Oh, we'll see. I guess we'll get everyone's feedback, but maybe we'll do another Chazar here and then somewhere. I mean, sometime in the middle of the week, near the end of the week, we'll do the B'chana, and then we'll have to see. As far as we'll have to work it out with Purim. We don't want to turn what we're learning into Purim Torah. So,
Right.
and also we're leaving. Usually we go right almost till Pesach, but this year actually I'm leaving Eretz Yisrael and Rosh Chodesh Nisan, so we'll have only till then. So yeah, maybe we'll decide to learn something new and then do Chazara when I'm gone. That's a cheshbon that we'll finish. We'll see.
Okay.
With Ma'aseh Shabbos, Rebbe's example, always a Shabbaton. Our most previous Shabbaton, one of the girls noticed that the water urn was going low, so she refilled the water urn for us. And someone came to ask me, like, what should I do? One of the girls refilled the water urn. Said, depends on if your coffee is a shasatchak. Yeah.
So that'll be the gra,
Yeah.
That's exactly the gra.
Yeah.
Yeah, she earned her keep for Shabbos.
Yeah.
Okay, Shabbos.
All right. Have a great Shabbos, everybody. Thank you. Have a good Shabbos, everybody.
Got it.